A shooter takes deadly aim at the residents of a small Georgia town. Police and the FBI begin a desperate search to find the killer. They struggle to make sense of the evidence as the body count climbs, all in an attempt to stop this murderer before he puts his next victim in his sights.
In Georgia, a series of bizarre shootings terrorized the small town. 2 people were killed, 2 others were critically wounded. At first, the shootings seemed targeted. Then they seemed random. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. As the body count climbed, the killer taunted law enforcement with mysterious notes. Agents believed the shooter would continue to kill until he was dead or behind bars.
East Point, Georgia is just 7 miles south of Atlanta. It's a quiet city with a population of 40,000. East Point averages 6 to 8 homicides a year. March 1st, 2001. A man is concerned about his mother. He arrives at her house to see if she's okay. He normally speaks to his mother by phone every day, but this day she did not answer his calls. Then he sees signs of foul play that lead to his mother's car.
Mom.
He makes a horrific discovery. Minutes later, East Point Police and Lieutenant Russell Popham begin a homicide investigation.
We discovered the victim was a female that had been shot and she was dead of multiple gunshot wounds. We did notice that she had been there for about 24 hours.
Police can already rule out one reason why the victim was murdered.
As always in any kind of crime, you try to figure out the motive. But obviously her car was still there as well as her pocketbook. So we didn't think at the time that robbery was the motive.
Detectives identify the victim as Pamela Clark. They also find a badge.
The victim was a probation officer with the state of Georgia. She worked for the Department of Corrections and she supervised probationers.
Since they have limited investigative resources, East Point Police request the FBI and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to assist at the crime scene. FBI Special Agent Pete McFarlane is on a task force that assists local police departments with forensic analysis.
A lot of the local police departments did not have the equipment such as Luma lights. We actually process vehicles for latent fingerprints. We process items that we pick up for latent fingerprints.
Agent McFarlane finds signs Pamela Clark was shot at almost point-blank range.
You could see where the person had shot right through the window, and glass had actually impaled the victim's face. So it was very close. I guess you could say it was an execution.
The killer was both brutal and careful. East Point Police Detective Bobby Gray finds no bullet shell casings at the scene, despite multiple shots being fired.
No shell casings could mean that there was a revolver. Until we know differently, we're going to assume either the person picked him up or he was using the revolver.
Police believe the killer premeditated the murder because of the lack of evidence.
There was no fingerprints left at the scene. It was a very sterile scene.
Detectives want to know who would want Pamela Clark dead. For answers, they turn to the victim's son. He spoke to his mother every day. But she seemed happy and never mentioned trouble with anyone, including her probationers. To investigators, it seems that the fatal shooting was a random attack. That night, detectives go door to door throughout the neighborhood. They're searching for anyone who saw anything suspicious in the last 24 hours. They find only one witness.
He was in the shadow, though, and
The previous night, she heard noises that could have been gunshots. Then she saw someone calmly walking away.
What time of night was it?
around 8.
The witness said she saw a black male about 6 foot tall. She's looking at a distance from about 40 yards, so she can only tell that he had a low haircut, and he was about 6 foot tall, of average build. There was not much light. That's all she could come up with.
If you got to tell me anything or if something pops into your mind, just give us a call.
Unfortunately, the witness is unsure she'd recognize the man if she saw him again.
There are 3 bullet wounds.
The medical examiner confirms several findings investigators made at the crime scene. Pamela Clark was murdered 24 hours before her body was discovered.
Came in from this direction. I'm going to remove that bullet.
The medical examiner identifies 4 bullet wounds, 3 to the left side of the torso and 1 near the right armpit area. The tight grouping of the 3 wounds is consistent with police theories that the killer shot the victim at close range. Police get their first clues about the murder weapon when the medical examiner removes 3 .40 caliber bullets from the body. Although 3 bullets are recovered, the victim had 4 gunshot wounds. Investigators recover the 4th bullet from the passenger seat of the victim's car. It's also .40 caliber. Agents find the vehicle unusually cluttered with junk mail, bills, and other letters. The victim's son said his mother usually sorted her mail in the car after she picked it up from her mailbox. Agents also note a few other items.
I thought she may have had some children in the car because there were some wrappers also in the vehicle.
Based on the evidence recovered from the car, the autopsy, and witness interviews, detectives put together a murder scenario that paints a picture of a ruthless, calculating assailant. Investigators suspect the killer was lying in wait as Pamela Clark arrived home on the evening of February 28, 2001, at about 7:30 p.m. It seems he was familiar with his victim's routine as she arrived home from work. There he'd have a captive target as she sorted her mail. Detectives believe the killer either picked up all the .40 caliber shell casings or had some other way of containing them as he fired. Then he left Pamela Clark to die. Police have a theory on how the victim was murdered, but they have no suspects and a killer on the loose.
We have an extreme whodunit. We have bullets, we have a car, and we have a body, and that's about all we have.
With so little to go on, it will be difficult to find justice for the murdered probation officer. East Point, Georgia police and the FBI have a killer on the loose, a killer who murdered probation officer Pamela Clark. They have no leads and no suspects. They only know the killer approached her while she sat in her car, then shot her 4 times at close range with a .40 caliber handgun.
Everything's going good here. What have you been up to? Not much. Talk to you then. Bye.
Investigators like East Point Police Lieutenant Russell Popham try to understand why someone would want Pamela Clark dead.
There's an old saying that if you can establish the motive, you can solve the crime. We immediately went to work on her immediate family, her contacts, as well as her job as a state probation officer.
The victim's son said she never mentioned having any enemies. Detectives focus on the victim's job as a probation officer, where she worked with dangerous criminals on a daily basis. The probation officer has the power to send a violent criminal back to jail.
Okay, here's our office. All right. Just look around, and if you need me.
Police search the victim's office to examine her case files.
She had a typical caseload of anywhere from 70 to 100 probationers. So we looked to see if there was anybody on her probation list that maybe she was about to try and revoke the probation. This took about 15 days to go through the list.
Detectives question each of Pamela Clark's probationers to find out where they were on the night she was killed.
Yeah. Devereaux, I'd like to talk to you.
About?
You familiar with Miss Clark? She's your probation officer.
Yes.
You know what happened to her?
No.
Most of them are saddened to hear of her murder.
Murdered?
Yes. Where were you the night she was murdered?
And she's like a mom to me and everything. I mean.
What we found on interviewing her probationers is that she was a well-liked person, a very fair person, almost a mother figure. We heard that from several people that had committed some violent crimes, and they actually liked her as a probation officer.
Don't go out of town.
I'm not leaving town.
Well, I'm going to be back and talk with you some more, okay?
All right, no problem.
But as police scour hundreds of case files, they discover a probationer who had both a motive to kill Officer Clark and the opportunity to study her habits.
We were able to find one person that she was potentially going to revoke her or ask for his probation to be revoked because he had failed a drug test. And this person actually lived in her neighborhood.
The probationer's name is Thomas Moulton. Detectives put a mugshot of Moulton into a photo lineup. They show it to the witness who saw a man walking away from the crime scene on the night of the murder. The witness identifies Thomas Moulton as the man she saw. With the positive ID, it seems investigators may have an open and shut case. March 15th, 2001. 2 weeks after Pamela Clark was gunned down. Police have an arrest and search warrant for Moulton.
Your hands. What's wrong? What did I do? What's wrong? Tell me what's going on, man.
You're under arrest for parole violation.
During their search of Moulton's house, investigators uncover a jacket like the one the witness saw on the night of the murder.
This looks like the jacket.
Police also make a disturbing find.
He had a box of 9mm bullets in his room, and we knew, however, that the bullets used were .40 caliber, but again, this showed that this probationer had bullets when he shouldn't have. We were alarmed at this.
All right, let's see what we have. Would you look at that?
We still had a lot of work to do to prove or disprove that this person did it.
Thomas Moulton submits to a polygraph test and agrees to be questioned without a lawyer present.
Did you kill Pamela Clark?
No.
Under questioning, Moulton denies any involvement in Pamela Clark's murder.
No.
He claims to have respected her, even though her probation report would send him back to prison.
Did you have anything to do with Officer Clark's murder?
No. I wouldn't hurt her. I liked her. She was good to me.
He explains that the bullets found in his apartment were for a Smith & Wesson 9mm pistol. The weapon was stolen 6 months earlier.
Did you ever use the path in Officer Clark's backyard?
Yes, but everybody used that path.
When investigators press Moulton for an alibi, he claims he can't remember where he was on the night of Pamela Clark's murder.
The night of February 28, 2001?
No.
Have you been truthful in all your responses during this interview? Yes.
Throughout the interview, the polygraph analyst detects no evidence of deception by Moulton.
This is over, relax. Did I pass? Can you tell you?
Police later examine Moulton's telephone records. They discover Moulton was on the phone talking to his girlfriend during the time Pamela Clark was murdered.
Don't see any problems. Everything looks clean. Okay?
Detectives clear Moulton as a suspect. They've hit a dead end in their investigation. The killer is still on the loose and free to strike again. April 8th, 2001, over a month after Pamela Clark was murdered. It's an unusually warm spring evening in East Point.
It was a night in the low 70s at the time, so a lot of people were enjoying the first few days of spring, that with their doors open, their windows open.
A few miles from Pamela Clark's home, a retiree named Chuck Boiler hears someone approach.
Who's out there? Who's out there? Who's out there? Hey!
The bullet shatters the man's arm and rips into his chest. He tries to fight back, but he's rapidly losing blood. The gunman lingers. Then disappears into the night. East Point Police Lieutenant Russell Popham tries to get a description of the assailant. But it's no use.
He couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman, the race of the person or anything. And we asked him, well, who would have did this to you? Did they ask for anything? Did they try to rob you or anything like that? And he said, no, I just went to the door and I was shot through the door.
Detectives find evidence confirming the victim was shot at almost point-blank range.
We could actually see the gunpowder residue around the screen, so we knew, again, this was up close and personal. And so it appeared that he was targeted.
Police recover a shell casing.
Detective, we got a shell casing over here. Yeah, 40 caliber.
It's .40 caliber. Then detectives find an unusual clue deliberately left behind by the shooter. It's an ominous note that reads, "I was locked up for 6 weeks. Someone must pay." The reverse side of the note is signed in yellow highlighter. The gunman calls himself Jack. As East Point police try to make sense of the note, they have no idea that more violence is being unleashed just a few miles away. Less than an hour after Chuck Boiler was shot, East Point police will have a new murder on their hands.
Hey! Hey! You mind here?
In the spring of 2001, police in East Point, Georgia are investigating the murder of probation officer Pamela Clark. They have no suspects. Over a month later, a gunman shoots Chuck Boiler point blank, shattering his arm. Police find a note left by the shooter in which he calls himself Jack. Less than an hour after Chuck Boiler was shot, a man approaches another house in East Point.
Help! Hey! Hey! Please, open this door! Give me some help!
The man isn't a shooter, he's a victim. East Point Emergency Services race to their second shooting of the night. Police learn the victim's name is Andrew Wilson, a janitor at a local hospital. In a few hours, Wilson will die from gunshot wounds to his back. Police need to know what happened. They find answers down the street. A car idles with no one inside. Police run the registration and learn the vehicle belongs to the victim. Investigators find bullet holes in the vehicle that indicate Wilson was shot in his car as he pulled up to the intersection. The fatal bullet likely passed through the driver's side rear window, through the back of the driver's side seat, and into the victim's back. After Wilson was shot, detectives believe he got out of his car and desperately searched the neighborhood for help.
Hello? I need some help, please!
Police recover 5 shell casings from the scene. They're all .40 caliber. Just like the casing recovered an hour earlier in front of Chuck Boiler's house. But the fact that .40 caliber weapons were used in both crimes does not necessarily link the two shootings.
The primary murder weapon that's used around here is a 9mm, and as the .40 caliber's gotten more popular, we see a lot of .40 caliber crime scenes.
Then police find undeniable evidence the two shootings are related. The city of East Point has a serial shooter on the loose. He calls himself Jack.
I just need to ask you some questions, okay?
East Point police canvass the neighborhood for witnesses.
Okay, yeah,
They find a woman who saw a black male loitering in the area before the shooting.
She saw that this man standing there, and he was pacing back and forth. And she watched him for 10 or 15 minutes, and she said, "This is not right."
The witness phoned police to report the man.
Yes, I was wondering if you could send out a patrol car to 5th and Brown. Yes, well, there's a man out here. I've never seen my neighborhood. It's pretty scary, and... Okay, thank you.
When she went back to the window, she saw a car approach the intersection. She never saw the man's face, but she got a good look at his vehicle.
She sees a late model American car. She was very adamant in detail about it, and that was one thing that we really believed her on, that she knew what type of car it was.
The witness was unable to see the car's license plate number.
Okay, well, you've done good. Okay, if you think of anything else comes to mind, okay, would you please give me a call? Okay.
In a single night, Jack has murdered one man and seriously wounded another. Police now have 2 bodies on their hands, and every reason to expect there will be more. The city of East Point, Georgia, has a serial shooter on the loose. In a single night, the gunman wounded one man and killed another. Investigators found notes left by the shooter at both crime scenes. They were signed in yellow highlighter, Jack. East Point Police and Detective Bobby Gray fear the shooter will strike again.
The frustrating thing about this investigation is we didn't know who, we didn't know why, and we didn't know who would be next.
4 days later, on April 12, 2001, a shadowy figure approaches another house in East Point. A woman is unaware she's a target. She doesn't hear the shot. The TV is her only clue something is wrong. Then she spots a bullet hole and calls 911.
Okay, we'll get somebody out there. Thank you.
East Point police respond to the latest shooting. Detectives believe the shooter targeted the woman and hit the TV by mistake. She's lucky to be alive.
Did you hear anything prior to the shot?
I didn't. I was sitting there watching TV, and I remember flipping through the magazine, and that's all I can remember. I'm sure.
If it wasn't for the TV being in front of the window, the person watching the TV would have been dead. The bullet went through the window, went through the screen, went through the back of the TV, and fortunately, it lodged inside the TV.
Investigators uncover a chilling note that supports their theory and threatens many more victims. It reads, "Better count your body bags."
We knew that this person wasn't going to stop. We're going to have more victims. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and how many.
Police have no doubt as to who did the shooting. The killer, who calls himself Jack. Hours later, crime scene technicians recover a bullet from the woman's TV set. It's .40 caliber, consistent with Jack's MO. East Point detectives need to stop Jack before he makes good on his threat to fill body bags with more victims. They appeal to other police agencies and the FBI for help. FBI Special Agent Pete McFarlane examines the evidence. He recognizes the notes. He found one when he processed the car of murdered probation officer Pamela Clark. At first, he thought the note was just a child's scribbling. But now it ties Pamela Clark's murder to the shooting spree.
This is it. I knew I'd seen it. Gentlemen.
Eureka. That's the word you want to use, eureka. There's a connect here. When you started connecting all of them together, it's very similar, handwriting or block writing, all done with a highlighter. It was almost like this person was trying to say that, well, I'm a serial killer. I'm out there shooting people just for no reason at all.
The similarities between the notes point to a killer that is methodical, calculated, and consistent. Jack wrote each note on a half a sheet of standard white paper. Jack tore each note by hand, resulting in ragged edges. And Jack signed each note with either an orange or a yellow highlighter. Detectives believe one note contains a possible motive.
I was locked up for 6 weeks for nothing. Someone must pay.
So investigators scour records for anyone recently jailed for that period of time named Jack. They find no viable suspects. Jack and his true motive remain a mystery.
We, as investigators, had 4 crime scenes, but we had nothing. We had no suspects. We had nobody.
So you have 1, 2.
Police examine the victims' backgrounds, searching for any link between them that could show a pattern in the shootings.
Right here. Well, we have active 95 North, so here's what happens.
We even went as far as to the individuals, did they have their oil changed at the same place? You know, their car, their automotive work, was it done at the same place? Things like that. I mean, we looked into every possible avenue to connect them, to disprove that it was random.
The only link police find is that all the victims live within the borders of the same city.
Everything was centered in East Point, as opposed to the shooter going to College Park, which is right next door to East Point, or even back to Atlanta, or to Hapeville, or some other jurisdiction in close proximity to East Point. Everything was centered right in East Point.
Detectives know that when the killer strikes again, it will be in East Point. Anyone within city limits could be a target. Police take unprecedented measures to warn the public. They use a computer system to dial every phone number in East Point. Anyone who picks up the phone hears a message warning about a killer on the loose. The taped message tells the public to call police if they see anything even slightly suspicious. It puts the entire city on edge. East Point police work around the clock, canceling leave and beefing up patrols to catch Jack before he strikes again. But they're up against a gunman who kills at a time and place of his choosing.
We felt helpless. We're here to protect the citizens of East Point, and we're here to help. And unfortunately, you don't know when the next shooting is going to happen. You don't know who's going to be the victim. You don't know why they're going to be a victim.
Investigators fear they're playing a grim waiting game with Jack.
I can remember a veteran FBI agent that had worked on some serial murder cases, serial rapist cases, and he said, I'll never forget this, he said, you're probably just going to have to sit back and wait for another one to happen. And that's not really what you want to hear.
"12 days later, on April 24th, 2001, the wait is over. At 1:30 a.m., Rosa Lewis pulls up to her East Point apartment. She's Jack's 5th victim. East Point, Georgia, April 24th, 2001 at 1:30 a.m. Rosa Lewis has been shot in her car as she pulled up to her apartment. She's the latest victim in a series of random shootings that have left 2 people dead. She fights to avoid becoming the 3rd murder victim. Despite 4 bullets that have ripped into the left side of her torso. A roommate calls 911 as Rosa Lewis loses consciousness. East Point Police, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and the FBI speed to the scene. East Point Police Lieutenant Russell Popham can't get any answers from the victim. Not now, maybe never.
What we were told was that she was not going to live. We were told that she was that critical, her blood pressure was already dropping, that she wasn't going to live.
Investigators turn to the physical evidence left behind. Once again, they find .40 caliber shell casings, 4 of them. Detectives know the killer, who calls himself Jack, used a .40 caliber weapon in all 4 of his previous shootings. Agents find another clue on the roof of a car that the shooter used to steady his aim.
But you could see the where he actually reached across the roof, and it was laying across the roof of this vehicle, shooting into the vehicle. You could see the V shape of the muzzle blast on the car itself. The connection is, this is so close. It's so close that this person could not miss. It's not like shooting from 25 feet, 50 yards away. This person got right up into the victim's face and was shooting that person.
Police search for Jack's signature clue.
We immediately began to look for a note. We had the .40 caliber casing, so we immediately began to look for a note. We could not find a note in the darkness. We could find a note, and it wasn't a windy night, so we didn't think the note had blown away, but we couldn't find it.
Although no note is recovered, police find similarities between the Rosa Lewis shooting and the murder of probation officer Pamela Clark. Both women were gunned down in their cars, with multiple shots fired through the driver's side window at close range. Then detectives uncover a shocking clue that changes the entire investigation. Rosa Lewis was a probation officer just like Pamela Clark.
They knew each other. They worked in the same office together. This is too coincidental.
Detectives no longer believe the shootings are random. Somehow the Rosa Lewis and Pamela Clark shootings are related. Police interview Rosa Lewis's roommate and learn Rosa moved into the apartment 2 months ago after a recent divorce.
but she described the relationship to us as an amicable divorce. She even said that the victim's ex-husband had actually helped her move in. There was no reason to believe that he had a motivation to want to kill her.
Agents and detectives go door to door, searching for any witnesses to the shooting.
And we did find one lady who actually lives on a street behind the apartment complex who said she heard the shot. She looked out her window and she saw a car leaving that area. And she described it as a blue car, and she gave us that it was similar to a particular make of a car. So we had now a car, the kind of car we're possibly looking for, the make and model. We just weren't certain what the tag number was on the vehicle.
The witness never saw the killer's face. Once again, police are left with only a vehicle description. Later that morning, police notify Rosa Lewis's family about the shooting, including her ex-husband, William Lewis.
We knock on the door and nobody answers. We knock a few more times and we're about to leave, and as we turn around to walk to our car, a car pulls in. The first thing that we notice is that this car that pulled in was very similar, if not the same kind of car that was described leaving the shooting.
The man driving the car is William Lewis. Detectives break the tragic news to him.
She's Butchick's wife. She's been shot multiple times.
When we told him that his ex-wife had been shot multiple times and may die, he wasn't shocked. He didn't ask, how is she doing? He didn't say, I have to get to her. He didn't say, what are you doing to get this person? It's almost as if we had notified him that something that was not really that significant.
Mind if we check your car? Come on, go ahead. Keys.
Detectives ask to search Lewis's car. He consents and says the vehicle is a rental. Hours after the shooting, police could expect to find a weapon, bullets, or a note signed in yellow highlighter if William Lewis is Jack. But they find nothing.
It's clean.
Investigators then ask Lewis for consent to search his house. He agrees. The living room is clean, but it's only one of many rooms.
Mr. Lewis, is that your bedroom back there?
Yeah.
Mind if I take a look?
In the bedroom, police find items that would be common in any home office. But in this case, they have a chilling significance.
As I was standing in the bedroom, I looked over at his dresser, and on his dresser were several highlight markers. It was the same colors of the notes that we had had before.
Mr. Lewis, would you mind coming with us back downtown for a little while? Would you? I mean, just need to go in and ask a few more questions. Is that okay?
Downtown?
Yeah.
The discovery prompts detectives to ask Lewis to come downtown for questioning. He agrees.
I think he wanted to be as cooperative as he could. He wanted to convince us that he was not the person.
Police have no way of knowing if they just put Jack in their car or if it's another dead end. Probation officer Rosa Lewis lies in a coma after being shot 4 times in the chest. Police believe she's the 5th victim of a serial shooter who calls himself Jack. Detectives find circumstantial evidence that points to the victim's ex-husband, William Lewis. But they still have no idea why he went by the name Jack or what prompted his shooting spree. While Lewis is transported to the police station for questioning, other investigators are dispatched to the probation office where his ex-wife, Rosa Lewis, worked. They search her desk for clues. It's the same office in which the first victim of the shooting spree, Pamela Clark, worked. The women were close friends. investigators find evidence that Rosa Lewis feared for her life. Weeks before she was shot, she wrote a letter and placed it in her desk. It said if anything happened to her, it was her ex-husband who was responsible. From the letter, East Point Police Detective Bobby Gray learns William Lewis made threats to stop Rosa from divorcing him.
He would tell her things like, I know people who can do things to you. I know how to get rid of you. And he would say things like, I will blow your head off.
In her letter, Rosa Lewis also implicates her ex-husband in the murder of Pamela Clark. Pamela helped Rosa through the divorce and recommended a divorce lawyer. It made William Lewis furious.
And in his mind, if she had not talked his wife into leaving him, his wife would still be with him. He was so mad at her that that was going to be the first person that he would lash out at.
Pamela was murdered the night before Rosa left her husband for good. During questioning, detectives confront William Lewis with the note found in Rosa's desk.
My ex-husband has been acting extremely irrational. Many people have cautioned me to be careful.
And we actually read the letter to him in the interview and asked him about these threats that he was making. And he told us that those are just empty. So those are empty threats. Those are empty threats. There's nothing to that. They're empty.
That's all empty threats. That's it.
Threats.
Yeah.
Empty threat. Empty enough for her to write a letter to an attorney.
It's just words. That's all it was, man.
You ever grabbed your wife?
No.
You ever hit her?
No.
You ever beat on her?
No.
They ask William Lewis more about his relationship with his wife. They learn the couple's wedding anniversary is April 8th, the same day Chuck Boiler was shot and Andrew Wilson was murdered.
What we've theorized is he had probably sitting at home all day on Sunday. It was his wedding anniversary. He wanted his wife, and we think he became angry and just went out and shot 2 random victims.
Can you explain these to us?
Detectives review Lewis's credit card records and learn he rented a car on April 8th.
No big deal.
On the same day that the murder took place, the same car that was seen at the murder scene. Man, tell me about that.
That's a coincidence.
The car matches the description of the vehicle a witness saw leaving the Andrew Wilson murder scene.
According to him, he liked to rent a lot of cars. We can link him to 2 cars that he rented, and the 2 cars that he rented were both seen leaving shootings. And that was very important.
She didn't see me.
During the grueling 3-hour interrogation, Lewis remains deceptive and evasive in his answers. He makes up stories about probationers who wanted to kill his ex-wife. Investigators see through the smokescreen.
This will show you have the right to remain silent and not make any statement at all.
It was about 5 o'clock that day that we placed him under arrest for shooting his wife.
I love my wife, okay?
But Rosa Lewis was only one of 5 people targeted by the shooter known as Jack. If William Lewis is Jack, police still have to prove it.
We had to connect him back to these other incidents. We had a lot of circumstantial evidence, but we didn't feel at that time we had nowhere near enough to convict him.
The good news is we have one survivor. She's recovering.
FBI Special Agent Pete McFarland believes one way to link Lewis to the other shootings is through shell casings and bullets.
No shell casing here. That was the first. Victim 2, 1 we found.
The lab said all the bullets from the previous crime scenes came from the same weapon. The bullets that shot Miss Lewis came from the same weapon.
That was. Would it match? It does match. So obviously.
East Point Police Lieutenant Russell Popham knows locating the murder weapon will prove their case.
We're lucky we have one survivor to help us.
To this day, we have never found the firearm. We executed 8 search warrants looking for this firearm, and we have never found the firearm.
It keeps coming up. There's got to be something. The highlighters.
Police seized the highlighters found in William Lewis's bedroom.
He wrote these. He left these on every crime scene. He's trying to tell us something. That leads us to the markers he used. What about the highlighters?
Yeah, well, they're just your everyday, ordinary highlighter. I found them in Lewis's bedroom. It's just common, so we might not have anything to work with. Right.
But they are a popular brand. Even if the ink matches the notes the shooter left behind, a jury could still have reasonable doubts.
Wait a second. Wait 1 second here. Now look at this photo.
The notes themselves might, however, contain forensic evidence.
Every note, it's all the same, all the tears.
Crime scene technicians dust the notes for fingerprints and find only unreadable smudges. They find some of the smudges along the torn edges were not made by fingers, but by human lips.
We believe what happened was that this person had licked the piece of paper and tore it off, moistened the paper, basically, and left his lip prints.
With the paper moistened, it would be easier for the shooter to tear it along the fold. The shooter avoided leaving his fingerprints on the notes, but technicians find traces of saliva that contains DNA. Investigators compared DNA taken from the notes with a sample taken from William Lewis. The DNA matches. William Lewis is Jack.
Even though we didn't have a murder weapon from him, we had his DNA. His saliva is on these notes, and they're at 3 of the scenes.
Serious. Yes, especially look at this. Perfect match.
Excellent.
William Charles Lewis is indicted on 26 counts in connection with the East Point shooting spree. The district attorney plans to seek the death penalty. William Lewis's ex-wife, Rosa, emerges from her coma after months of hospitalization and eventually returns home. In September 2001, 5 months after Rosa Lewis was nearly murdered, police respond to her home once again.
Oh, I'm better. I hope you're feeling a lot better. Now, you got this today?
Yes, I did.
Miss Lewis called me, said, I just got a letter. It's here. I haven't opened it. I want you to come down here and get it. And I went down there to where she was living and picked up the letter and read it. Basically an apology to his wife.
From the letter, detectives learn the bizarre motives behind the shooting spree.
He knew that if he killed the first victim, which was his wife's friends, it would bring a lot of hurt to his wife. The second victim, the third victim, and the fourth victims were, they were just to throw the police off.
The letter closes all 5 cases and seals William Lewis's fate.
Not only did we have his DNA at the scene, which was enough to convict him, but now we had a confession as to why he did it, and the reason and why he did it.
With his confession written, William Lewis pleads guilty to all counts. He's sentenced to life in prison plus 191 years with no possibility of parole.
We all discussed that at one time. If he had not been caught, would he have gone on and continued shooting people just to lead us away from the whole purpose is to kill his wife? You know, throw us off track. I suspect he probably would have gone on if he didn't get caught.
Only William Lewis knows how many more random victims he would have killed to cover his tracks. The combined efforts of the East Point Police, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and the FBI made sure he'd never get the chance to kill again. Decades before 9/11, the United States is attacked by terrorists. American businesses are bombed. Innocent people are slaughtered. Symbols of liberty become targets for destruction. The terrorists are mobile, well-organized, and deadly. As the violence escalates, their victims have but one hope: the FBI.
In the 1970s, cities across the United States became a battleground for vicious Croatian radicals. Their violent agenda targeted their own people living in America. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. Agents all over the country work to unravel a complex web of extortions, bombings, and assassinations. At stake were the lives of innocent Croatian families trying to build a new life in America.
New York City, 1977. On the morning of June 14th, 3 men approached the Yugoslav diplomatic mission to the United Nations. Outside the mission, a New York City police officer stands guard. Inside, Yugoslav security agents protect the embassy. One of them asks the visitors for identification.
Upstairs, go, go!
Hearing the shot, police officers rush into the building. Foreign missions are technically outside the NYPD's jurisdiction. The officers are now in Yugoslav territory. As backup arrives, the officers inside the mission try to negotiate with the 3 men, but they have barricaded themselves in an upper office. The intruders warn they have taken a woman hostage. They will kill her if anyone tries to enter. One officer offers himself as a substitute hostage.
Take me for the hostage.
The gunmen refuse. Agents from the FBI's New York field office respond to the scene. According to federal law, the FBI is responsible for investigating all attacks on foreign missions. Special Agent Len Cross.
As I arrived, we had police officers in the park. We had police officers on surrounding buildings with scoped rifles. And then we had the emergency service units making entry into the building. What was going through my mind was, what was happening on the inside.
The suspects appear in an upstairs window, brandishing a Croatian flag. They toss propaganda leaflets into the street. The leaflets call on the United Nations to force communist Yugoslavia to grant Croatia its independence.
What they were trying to do was gain publicity for their cause and showing the oppressive regime that existed in Yugoslavia and how they were oppressing the Croatian people.
A hostage negotiator talks to the suspects for nearly 2 hours. They finally agree to come out, but only if they are taken into custody by U.S. authorities, not Yugoslav officials.
They were just trying to protect themselves from the officials because they knew if they got their hands on them, they'd kill them.
Easy.
And then finally, when they realized it was the New York City police and the FBI on the other side of the door and assured them that no harm would come to them, they surrendered without incident.
Move! Stay right there.
The suspects reveal that they never had a hostage. They were only bluffing to prevent Yugoslav security agents from mounting an armed assault. As the police officers escort the suspects out of the building, mission security confronts them.
Step aside, gentlemen. No, the prisoners.
They tell the officers to hand over the radicals.
This is Yugoslavian mission. You have no right here. This is territory of Yugoslavia.
Put the guns down.
The NYPD officers refuse.
Step aside.
No.
Lower your
They
weapon.
intend to leave the mission with the prisoners.
We're taking our prisoners out. Lower the guns.
The security agents finally back down. The invasion of a foreign mission on U.S. soil is unprecedented. One of their employees has been seriously wounded. Special Agent Cross now leads the investigation. He searches for a possible motive for the attack. He starts by analyzing the long history of hatred and violence between Yugoslav Serbs and Croatians as they fought over the same Eastern European lands.
The reasons and motives stretched centuries, where Serbians would go into Croatian villages and kill every man, woman, and child, and the Croatians would reciprocate.
1971. The violence spread outside Yugoslavia. Croatian radicals assassinated the Yugoslav ambassador to Sweden. In 1972, they hijacked a Swedish airliner and forced the government to release 7 political prisoners from jail. Later that same year, Croatian terrorists claimed responsibility for planting a bomb on board a Yugoslav airliner. The blast killed 26 innocent people.
I mean, the hatred was so deep and it was hard to fathom. We were dealing also with trying to understand cultural and historical issues. And it was not your simple criminal matter. There was a lot of payback on both sides.
Now, that payback is spread from Europe to the United States. It's a terrifying trend. Cross contacts fellow FBI agents at U.S. embassies around the world. They confirm that there has been a disturbing increase in Croatian attacks on Yugoslav embassies and diplomats worldwide. Special Agent Cross works closely with police and prosecutors, providing background information on the men who attacked the Yugoslav mission. 4 months later, on October 13th, a New York jury finds all 3 men guilty of conspiring to take hostage Yugoslavia's ambassador to the United Nations. The jury also convicts the gunman who wounded the Yugoslav security agent of assault with a deadly weapon. For Agent Cross, the case is officially closed. But everything he has learned tells him that Croatian terrorism in the United States is on the rise and about to explode. 9 months later, in Chicago, Cross's fears become a grim reality. Croatian businessmen begin calling the FBI in a panic. They have each received an anonymous letter written in Serbo-Croatian. The letters demand a large sum of money and threatens horrific consequences if the recipient fails to pay up. Special Agent Bjarne Borison of the FBI's Chicago field office examines the letters.
Yesterday.
Borison speaks fluent Serbo-Croatian and has a background in counterintelligence.
They said, "You are not doing your part in our cause to overthrow the communist government. We've assessed your situation and decided that you are capable of paying this amount of money." And they would instruct them to send this money to an address in Paraguay, and if you fail to do that, you'll pay the consequences. It's absolute extortion. That's the way the FBI looked at it, was, yeah, this was an extortion attempt, and they were threatening your well-being if you didn't cooperate.
Agents are unsure whether the culprits are Serb spies or Croatian criminals. But they do know the extortionists have cast a wide net. Nationwide, the FBI collects a total of 52 extortion letters from Croatian businessmen. The letters are nearly identical, but with one key exception. The senders demand a different amount of money from each victim.
Most of the people who received those extortion letters were well off, or at least comfortable individuals, and had the ability to pay that money that was requested.
In New York City, Special Agent Len Cross heads the investigation into the extortion letters. Searching for leads, he contacts Pero Vučas, a prominent Croatian political writer living in Queens.
He was known to be against violence, and we felt that he might be an individual who could perhaps assist us in terms of identifying who may be responsible for these letters.
Agent Cross asks Vučas if he thinks the extortionists could be fellow Croatians.
He did not feel any good Croatian would have written these letters and made the demands that were made in these letters.
Instead, Vučas blames the Serb government of Yugoslavia.
He told me that it was his belief that these letters were generated by the Yugoslavian intelligence service to try to disrupt the Croatian community.
The majority were peaceful, and they wanted to overthrow the Yugoslav government, but by peaceful means. But there was always those who wanted to use more violent means and would do anything to achieve that goal.
Fuchas believes the letters are an attempt by Serbian spies to sabotage Croatian demands for freedom.
I left him my card, told him if you could think of anything else, please just to give me a call, and we would appreciate it.
In Chicago, Agent Borison focuses on the letter's demand to send money to a post office box in the South American country of Paraguay.
The address in Paraguay was of key significance to us because somebody had to collect that money, so you had to zero in on who that might be.
The FBI sends an agent from the U.S. Embassy in Argentina to Paraguay to investigate. The agent observes a man receiving the money. He is later identified as a known Croatian terrorist who in 1972 had shot the Yugoslav ambassador to Sweden. A month later, in New York City, the case takes a dramatic turn. A man calls local news stations claiming 2 bombs have been planted in New York City. One at the United Nations, the other at Grand Central Station. In 1978, the FBI investigates a group of Croatian terrorists who use extortion to fund their cause. In New York, 2 local television stations receive a call from a man who claims 2 bombs have been planted in New York City. One is at the United Nations. Outside a library at the UN compound, a police officer finds a suspicious-looking bag. The officer immediately calls in the NYPD bomb squad. Investigators find a note nearby written in Serbo-Croatian. It demands Croatian independence and says, quote, "This is the beginning. Our decision is kamikaze." Bomb technicians carefully dismantled the device. It's armed with dynamite and a blasting cap. The timer is set to explode within the hour.
It was designed to go off, it's just that it malfunctioned.
At Grand Central Station, police find the second bomb stashed inside a locker. Again, the device is accompanied by a letter demanding Croatian independence. If either of the devices had detonated, the loss of life and property would have been disastrous.
The writing was on the wall. Things are becoming more and more violent, and they were happening more frequently.
The FBI believes it's only a matter of time before someone is killed.
Gentlemen, go ahead, have a seat, get comfortable. So, with the contact...
Agents from the New York field office combined forces.
We felt that it would be a good idea to bring all the case agents together on one squad under one supervisor where we could exchange and coordinate our activities.
Special Agent Cross also proposes the coordination of a nationwide effort.
If we did not, my prediction was that all hell was going to break loose.
2 weeks later, in a wealthy suburb of New York, a successful businessman is gunned down outside his own home. His only crime: he's a Croatian immigrant who refused to submit to extortion. The FBI's worst fears have been realized. An extortion target has been murdered, and agents have no viable leads. In Chicago, Special Agent Bjorn Borison becomes concerned that Croatian Americans in his area will also be targeted.
It wasn't an empty threat they made in that extortion letter. They meant it. And we didn't know who they'd come after, so we had to contact all those individuals who'd received those letters to warn them and advise them they could be a possible target, and at the same time try to identify who's responsible.
The FBI also alerts other law enforcement agencies to watch for anyone purchasing illegal weapons or bomb-making materials. A few days later, the Chicago field office receives a call from the Department of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. A known Croatian radical is trying to buy dynamite.
They had just got an individual in a sting operation who had purchased 2 cases of dynamite from them. This individual met with the ATF undercover agents thinking he was buying real dynamite, but they actually sold him dummy dynamite.
The buyer's name is Ivo Afinic. He is a high-ranking member of a Croatian independence group called Otpor.
Obviously, they have plans to do a lot more bombings, and that's why they were buying this. The name of the organization is Hrvatski Narodni Otpor, which means Croatian National Resistance, so the word Otpor means resistance.
While the majority of Otpor members are law-abiding citizens, the FBI suspects that there may be a criminal faction operating within the organization intent on extorting and murdering fellow Croatians.
All right, guys, we're gonna pop this door. We're gonna go in. We got some
Otpor meets at a Croatian social club on the south side of Chicago. In a joint operation, FBI and ATF agents raid the club, searching for bomb-making materials. Investigators find the 2 cases of fake dynamite. But there are no live explosives anywhere in the club. A thorough search fails to turn up enough evidence to press charges against Ivo Afinic. That same day, in a nearby Chicago neighborhood, Daniel Nikolic opens up his shop. Nikolic is one of dozens of Croatian-American businessmen who have received an extortion letter. The cabinet maker refused to be bullied. Chicago police, the Chicago Fire Department, ATF agents, and the FBI investigate.
We did a search of the premises, and we determined that a bomb had been detonated on the roof of the cabinet shop.
Special Agent Borison interviews Daniel Nikolic.
There was no doubt who he thought was responsible, and that was the Otpor leadership, as a result of his failure to pay the extortion letter that he received.
With Nikolic's help, the FBI talks to members of the Croatian community. Their top priority is to find a confidential informant inside Otpor, familiar with the organization's violent activities.
Leaders in the Croatian Cultural Center.
The key to almost any investigation is you have to develop someone inside the organization who's willing to cooperate with you.
But the Chicago FBI has trouble finding anyone who will talk about Otpor.
About the Serbian activity.
To get someone that was actually inside the group is very hard, because it wasn't that big a group who was actually responsible for the violence. It was a small group, and it's very difficult to find someone inside that small group who's going to cooperate with you.
While agents try to recruit an informant in Chicago, Pasadena, California becomes the group's next target. On the morning of November 22nd, a Croatian businessman steps outside his home and into the gun sights of an assassin. The victim had received an extortion letter 5 months earlier, but he refused to support the Otpor cause. Local police and the FBI investigate, but they find little evidence. In San Francisco, home to a large Croatian-American population, agents mount an all-out effort to penetrate Otpor before they kill again. The FBI assigns Special Agent Bob Gorth, who speaks fluent Serbo-Croatian, to the full-time task of recruiting a confidential informant.
The FBI was having a problem with penetrating the Croatian community for the same reason that you have trouble in any ethnic terrorist field. The criminal act is a result of their nationalism. Whether or not they're involved, they will stand together as a community against law enforcement.
With a background in Yugoslavian counterintelligence, Special Agent Gorth understands the bitter conflict between the Croatians and the Serbs.
Not as often as I... Yugoslavia was an artificial country. It was born after World War I. The Croatians fundamentally were constantly fighting to get out from under what they considered Serb domination.
His understanding of the culture helps him enter San Francisco's Croatian community.
I was very un-bureau in a way. No suit and tie, no anything. A lot of times conversations were over a beer, over a bar table. We had to find a way to break down the wall and to convince someone on the inside who had information that what they were doing was morally wrong. It had to be a matter of conscience and a matter of actual conversion of thought.
From San Francisco to Chicago to New York, FBI agents compare notes, trying to find an insider who can give them any information on the mysterious, tight-knit terror group. The FBI's lead case agent in New York is Len Cross.
It was about 6 o'clock at night, and we were going over our leads and trying to get an idea, what do we need to do next? And I received a phone call.
Agent Cross, it's for you. He wouldn't say. It sounded urgent.
After 4 months of silence, Pero Vučas, the Croatian activist writer, is desperate to talk to Cross.
You got a what?
He says, I need to talk to you, and I need to talk to you now. I got a threatening letter, and he says, I'm going to tell you everything. I know who's all responsible.
The call may be the break the FBI needs.
So I says, okay, I'm coming right over. I says, I'll meet you right at your house.
As soon as I can.
All right, this evening, thank you.
Okay, all right. Got a threatening letter?
Other agents from the New York field office accompany Cross to the meeting.
They says, no, you're not going, we're going to go with you, because I mean, this could be a setup. They could be trying to get you.
Nationwide, FBI agents try to infiltrate a deadly terrorist organization that extorts and murders their fellow Croatian immigrants. Pero Vučas, a Croatian political writer, asks Special Agent Len Cross to come to his house. He's finally willing to talk.
He was very concerned, very scared, and he proceeded to show me this letter. It was essentially telling him that if he didn't shut up and didn't get his act together, that something very bad was going to happen to him. He realized at this point that these guys meant business and that he was in their crosshairs, and that his only alternative was to reach out to the FBI, put his trust in them, that they can get the job done.
The writer tells Agent Cross that he believes members of Otpor are behind the letters and the violence.
And he says they're criminals, so just a bunch of criminals that have infiltrated the Croatian organizations. At that point, he laid it out who all the key players were throughout the country. He couldn't tell us who wrote their letters, but what he did tell us is these are the guys that are running the whole operation.
According to Vučas, Otpor's North American headquarters is in Chicago. Some of the key terrorists live in the Midwestern United States.
It was really good information and definitely kind of was starting to fill in the puzzle.
In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, agents contact a Croatian priest who the FBI learns is influential throughout the Midwestern Croatian community.
Sit down.
Father Bradish is an outspoken opponent of violence. Agents believe he may provide valuable leads. An FBI agent from the Milwaukee field office interviews him at the Catholic elementary school where he works.
People in the parish,
As they talk, Father Bradish opens his mail.
because no indication.
One package contains a book. The agent spots a wire.
He observed batteries, wires, and explosives. The agent, being concerned for the location, that it was in an elementary school with young kids, grabbed the book and he ran outside.
The Milwaukee police sends a bomb technician to disable the device. Tragically, the blasting cap explodes, taking off part of the technician's hand. The FBI issues a warning to the 52 extortion victims that they've identified across the country. Beware of book-sized packages wrapped in brown paper. The next day, in Queens, New York, Pero Vučas picks up his mail. Inside his post office box, he finds a note telling him that he has a package. The postal worker can't find it.
No, please. Would you look one more time? It has to be here.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
The package has been stored on a shelf near the counter.
This package right there.
It looks like a book.
I don't want it. I'll come back for it later.
Vučas contacts Special Agent Len Cross.
I received a call telling me I've got a bomb. It's at the post office. He says, you want me to go get it? I says, no, leave it there. I says, we're going to get the bomb squad. We'll take it from there.
At the FBI lab, a bomb expert studies the package. It is nearly identical to a device sent to Milwaukee.
This book bomb was very similar in construction. The cutout looked the same. The firing system was the same. It was the same type of dynamite, same type of blasting cap.
The postmarks on the packaging reveal that both bombs were mailed from Akron, Ohio, on the same day. Agents alert Ohio authorities of the likelihood that the bomb maker lives in their area. In Cleveland, police search the home of Pavel Chotoras. The Croatian radical is their chief suspect in the bombing of a Croatian bookstore 5 days earlier.
Spread it out a little bit.
Special Agent Bjorn Borison.
During the search, they found a book that was hollowed out and was obviously a book bomb.
The bomb is a prototype. Once again, there are no live explosives on the premises. Without further evidence, no arrest can be made. Investigators try to link the prototype to the book bombs mailed to Milwaukee and Queens.
Every bomb maker has his own unique style. And of course, one of the reasons for doing that is safety. You want to do it the same way every time, because if you've changed anything, it's very dangerous to wire a book bomb.
In the lab, Special Agent Denny Klein compares all three devices. Each book is hollowed out to the same depth. The glue and solder used to construct the devices each have the same chemical composition. Even minute tool marks on the bomb's wiring match.
The belief of the laboratory was that this was a prototype that was used to make the two earlier bombs.
There is no way to know how many more bombs have been constructed from the prototype. March 17th, 1980. New Yorkers and tourists pack Fifth Avenue to watch the city's annual St. Patrick's Day parade. 10:55 a.m. A bomb explodes at the 30th floor office of a Yugoslav bank. FBI agents respond, including Special Agent Ken Maxwell.
We were doing interviews of the employees of the bank, the employees of the neighboring offices, the maintenance people in the building, delivery people, anybody who would even come remotely close to 500 Fifth Avenue that day.
The only significant evidence agents find is another note in which Oatport claims responsibility. The terrorists issue a chilling threat. The bomb attacks will continue until Croatia is free. On June 3rd, 1980, the terrorists target one of America's most cherished symbols of freedom, the Statue of Liberty. On June 3rd, 1980, Croatian terrorists target one of America's most cherished symbols of freedom, the Statue of Liberty. Special Agent Ken Maxwell helps investigate the bombing.
Someone had gotten into what they call the museum story room at the base of the statue that tells you the whole history of how the statue was built and all of the wonderful history in the pictures, and plus a souvenir shop. All of that had been blown to smithereens. A considerable amount of damage had been done throughout the base of the statue.
A number of violent groups claim responsibility for the bombing, including the Palestinian Liberation Organization, anti-Castro Cubans, and even neo-Nazis.
Multiple claims of credit back in the early 80s was not an unusual phenomenon.
Investigators painstakingly search for pieces of the bomb, expecting that the evidence will help them determine which group is responsible.
Hey guys, looks like I got a wire over here.
We spent all night there sifting through all of the rubble and debris and came up with quite a few components. The components of the improvised explosive device were strikingly similar to previous Croatian-related bombings.
What began as an attempt to extort dozens of Croatian Americans has escalated into a campaign of violence.
The Statue of Liberty was the greatest symbol of attraction for potential terrorists because of what it stood for. In their mind, the United States was not listening to their cause. So let's bring the cause to their attention and let's show them, the United States, that this is a real issue to us, and almost trying to extort the United States of America to help them achieve independence.
But the terrorists' logic is flawed. The attack only fuels authorities to intensify their investigation.
Bombing our Statue of Liberty, it's a slap in the face. So what we did, we started to focus our resources, our investigative attention on several individuals who we strongly suspected were involved in this kind of activity.
In New York, the FBI sets up intensive surveillance on several key terror suspects. In San Francisco, FBI Special Agent Bob Gorth continues his efforts to recruit an informant inside the terrorist ring.
I spent over a year doing nothing but contacting Croatians. It's very important to understand the people, to speak their language, to understand where they come from, even to a degree to empathize with them, so that you can talk to them in terms that they understand and appreciate. I interviewed over 300, I think, of all stripes, persuasions, and types, trying to find the right source. I finally found a man who indicated he'd like to talk again. Hadn't told me anything, but he'd like to talk again. After talking to him, I don't know how many times, we began to build a rapport. And finally, he said, I think I'll help.
Finding a source of information inside Otpor is a major break for the FBI. After thoroughly debriefing the informant in San Francisco, the FBI sends him to New York to gather intelligence on the most recent Croatian bombings.
He originally had lived in New York, and he was well acquainted with the people.
The informant renews old friendships with Croatian radicals.
He would have been killed if members of Otpor Command had found out that he was the man.
Despite the risk, he probes for details about their plans.
If you could obtain inside information on what's going on in a criminal enterprise, it means a tremendous amount in terms of achieving success in an investigation.
The informant learns that the group intends to assassinate an outspoken critic of Otpor.
Take care of it.
The target is Pero Vučas, the prominent Croatian political writer.
They were going to kill him with a rifle as he was walking his daughter, his 6-year-old daughter, to school in the morning. If they missed, they could hit his 6-year-old daughter. They had no concern for her, and most of the agents and the detectives working this case, they all had kids. So, you know, they're thinking in terms of a father. How could they do such a thing like this?
According to the informant, the ruthless plot is already in motion. Special Agent Ken Maxwell watches as 2 suspected terrorists park a van near the target's home.
What was very unusual is that they get out of the front of the van and went in the back of the van and removed one of the rear windows and substituted one of the windows with a cardboard panel. And although we could not see totally inside the van, we did know they weren't having a bagel and coffee in the back of that van. They were looking to assassinate him.
In New York, agents believe Croatian assassins intend to shoot Pero Vučas as he walks his 6-year-old daughter to school. Vučas has been working with the FBI to identify the terrorists. Special Agent Len Cross warns Vučas to stay inside his apartment.
If they had made an attempt to get out of their car, and proceed to his residence. And we saw what would appear to be a weapon. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. They were going to be taken down, period.
Fortunately, Vučas and his daughter remain hidden, forcing the snipers to abandon their deadly plot. The FBI decides to set up electronic surveillance on a man they believe to be the mastermind behind the East Coast bombings, the president of Otpor, Stepan Sajic.
He was directing the operations here in New York, and naturally would be the place to put the wiretap, especially in view of the fact that the individuals came to him, and that's where they had their meetings.
Special Agent Bjarne Borison.
It's very difficult to go into a building and place a wire without leaving any trace that you were there, and the FBI is quite good at that.
What are they talking about?
Very nearby, we set up a listening post, and we'd have at least one translator there at all times.
Their job is to translate Croatian to English,
Pieces are the bomb making.
as well as identify each voice on the tape. They must also decipher any code words used by the terrorists.
They won't come out and say words like dynamite. They may say things or pieces.
The drop-off, which is the device delivery, and the package is the bomb.
It took a while for us to get a grasp as to what are they talking about and get the significance of the phraseology they used.
The conspirators meet often, usually in the rec room in Sacic's basement. Jako Drevan, one of the men who tried to assassinate Pero Vučas, is Sacic's lieutenant. Translators work day and night, analyzing their conversations.
The wiretap would run 24 hours a day, and we had to constantly monitor the conversations because they're talking about bombing, assassinating people.
Agents are still trying to pin down specifics, places, dates, the identities of the co-conspirators.
It was all part of the puzzle that had all the pieces be pulled together in order to form enough evidence to start the prosecution.
Under federal racketeering laws, the FBI needs hard evidence of a conspiracy to take down the entire organization. Special Agent Ken Maxwell.
One particular night, their shaking of the pinball machine shook loose a wire that was used in the installation of the microphone.
Stop.
It looked like a plain wire. It didn't look like it had a head that a normal microphone would have. So if you saw it, you might even know what it is.
On the other end, the translators can hear the conspirators talking about the wire.
What they were saying was, what is that? And one of them realized rather quickly, because he had done all of the electrical work for the house, I didn't put that wire there.
They knew there was something there that didn't belong there. Now, the next question is, do they know what it is?
The conspirators begin following the wire.
And they traced that wire out of the basement to the power source out on the street and ripped the wire out.
For the FBI, the tap is critical.
To the great credit of our special operations folks, they reinstalled, and they reinstalled within 24 hours. I think the bad guys thought they had won in that instance, not realizing our persistence. And this time, we avoided the pinball machine.
Agents hear Stepan Sajic and Jako Drevan planning an upcoming operation.
They were talking about, let's get ready, I want you to do this, I want you to smash this. And we knew they were getting ready to bomb something.
Agents learn that Otpor intends to bomb a Yugoslav dance studio, scheduled to host a gala attended by the Yugoslav ambassador to the United Nations. Special Agent Len Cross.
They were going to have over 300 people there. At this point, this really raised our concerns because now they're going after groups and not concerned about who gets hurt.
Agents tail Drevin. He drives to Bridgeport, Connecticut, where he visits the home of a man named Vuka Ulich.
When he went into the residence, he went in empty-handed. When he came out, he had a good-sized brown bag, and there seemed to be some bulky stuff inside the bag.
Agents follow Drevin back to New York City, where he picks up another Haute-Pour foot soldier. The men drive on toward their target.
And they circled a block in Manhattan and kept circling it and circling it.
Agents watch as Drevin cases the building. He leaves the suspicious bag behind in the van.
It was decided that if they removed the bag, then we were going to arrest them. Certainly we were not going to take the chance of a potential bombing in Midtown Manhattan.
As the suspect returns to the van, the agents watch his every move, ready to take the terrorists down. In New York, agents tail two suspected Croatian terrorists. An FBI surveillance operation has revealed that a radical faction of Haute-Pour is planning to place a bomb at a reception for 300 people. The terrorists case the building and then leave the area. Agents suspect that they have a bomb in their van. The FBI cannot risk a terror attack on hundreds of innocent people. Agents obtain search warrants to raid the homes of Stepan Sacic and Jako Drevin.
FBI! Up against the wall! Hold it! Hold it right there! Get out! Hold it right there! Hold it right there! Hold it right there! Come on! We have warrant for your arrest. What is this? I don't understand. Just hold it right there. Hold it.
In Drevin's home, Special Agent Ken Maxwell finds a familiar-looking bag in a closet.
When I looked into the shopping bag, I saw a woman's pocketbook that was open. And inside the pocketbook were sticks of dynamite wrapped up in tape, a timing device, an alarm clock, an electric blasting cap, and wire. It's not every day that you find a bomb at your feet.
Authorities take Drevin into custody. Across town, Special Agent Len Cross and his team search the home of Stepan Sacic, the president of Haute-Pour.
One of my team members was going through a pile of paint drop cloths, and he found the scoped rifle, and he found the ammunition.
Investigators suspect Sacic's co-conspirators used the rifle weeks earlier in a plot to murder political writer and FBI cooperator Pero Vučas. Agents arrest Sacic for conspiracy under RICO, the federal racketeering statute.
He was advised of his rights, and he refused. He wasn't being very cooperative.
No, I don't think so.
4 days later, FBI agents and police raid the Bridgeport, Connecticut home of Vuka Ulich.
Towards the window. What is all about? Face the window.
Ulich provided Drevin with the bomb earmarked for the dance studio.
We have a warrant to search the premises.
A bomb tech, as he moved some clothes, observed there on the floor in a bag considerable amount of dynamite, and sitting on top of the dynamite were electric blasting caps, live electric blasting caps.
Agents arrest Vuka Ulich.
Don't you worry about it. We'll take care of it from here.
Special Agent Cross, you ever heard of me?
They call Special Agent Cross in New York to inform him they have found one of Haute-Pour's primary bomb makers.
Special Agent Cross.
Cross again questions Stepan Sacic, asking him if he knows a man by the name of Vuka Ulich.
You know a guy from Bridgeport?
He says, yeah, a little I do. I says, you got some problems. And we've just arrested him. And I says, he had a large quantity of explosives and caps and weapons in his house.
Sacic still refuses to talk. New York investigators call in Special Agent Bob Gorth from San Francisco to question Ulich. The former Otpur member turned confidential informant accompanies him. Late in the afternoon, with the moral support of the Croatian cooperator, Ulich finally begins to open up.
He wanted the feeling that a fellow Croatian believed in him, trusted him, and he wouldn't be entirely alone. And when he finally got the courage up, he said, yeah, I want to talk about it. And of course, that was the linchpin of the whole case.
Vuka Ulich tells investigators how other Otpur members convinced him to kill a Croatian community leader in California 2 years earlier.
After drinking all one evening and into the morning, he decided he'd strike a blow for Croatian freedom and go kill this enemy of the people. So he did. And later on, he realized that what he'd done was not advancing the Croatian cause, but really was harming it. He was one of the few people that I firmly believe regretted what he did.
Ulich agrees to testify against Sacic, Dreven, and the other Croatian terrorists. This is the key testimony prosecutors need to take down the entire terrorist ring.
His cooperation in this case was instrumental in breaking the back of an organized crime organization wherein in 4 cities we literally took out the godfathers of 4 families.
The RICO statute, originally enacted to stop organized crime, is used for the first time to fight terrorism. Within 2 years, 11 members of the Otpur organization are convicted and sentenced to up to 40 years in prison.
If you're going to achieve any kind of success in terrorism, you have to be able to bring to the playing field the right kind of players, the right kind of knowledge, and the right kind of resource, if you even hope to put a dent into it.
The Rambo approach is not going to win over terrorists. Terrorists are motivated by the extreme sense of nationalism. And if you're going to deal with them, you've got to get into their hearts and minds. Otherwise, you may stop them on a particular incident, but you haven't changed their minds. If you don't change their minds, they'll do it again.
For the FBI and law enforcement nationwide, dismantling Otpur was a vital achievement. Terrorists operating inside U.S. borders were stopped dead in their tracks. A prominent couple, respected in the community, are stabbed to death in their own home. Nothing about the case makes sense. Not the crime scene, the motive, or even the forensic evidence. Stabbing is a personal crime. There's often a relationship between the victim and the killer. A task force of agents and police quickly learn nothing about this case is usual.
Edna, New Hampshire is a small town. It's the kind of place where people trust their neighbors and leave their doors unlocked. A double murder shattered that trust and left the entire community terrified. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. The FBI and local police work day and night trying to find a motive for the brutal crime.
January 27th, 2001, Etna, Vermont. At 6:30 p.m., Carol Johnson stops by the home of her friends Suzanne and Half Zantop. Carol's supposed to have dinner with the couple.
Suzanne?
It's not like them to forget a dinner engagement.
I'm here. Anybody home?
In the study, she makes a gruesome discovery. The room is in shambles. The friends are on the floor. Blood is everywhere. Seven minutes after receiving the dispatch, the Hanover police are on the scene. Eric Bates is a detective with the Hanover Police Department.
And I went into the door.
By the time I got there, some of the information had been relayed as to the nature of what had happened. That there were at least 2 bodies.
Carol tells police that the victims were both prominent professors at nearby Dartmouth College. Half Zantop was an earth sciences professor. His wife Suzanne was the chair of the German Studies program. Carol is their colleague. They had invited her for dinner at 6:30 that evening.
Great, good to see you guys. See you tonight.
The Zantop house was extremely neat, orderly, clean. Nothing was out of place. There was a 2-level home, no basement. Check upstairs. The house hadn't been secured, and so that's when myself and one of the patrol sergeants went through the house and systematically cleared the house to make sure that the killers weren't still in the house for some reason. I can tell you I've never seen anything as horrific as the scene itself in the study of the Zantop home. Even with my military experience then and even now, nothing would compare to the scene that night. It was potentially a murder-suicide. And if not, and it was a double homicide, it appeared to me as though they were preparing a light meal. It was my impression that they were actually preparing a lunch and not a dinner.
Although the bodies were discovered at dinner time, Bates suspects the Zantops died early that afternoon before lunch, and that the couple has been dead for several hours.
There were so many valuables in that house that we wouldn't have even begun to know what was missing. We discovered some blood droppings and a bloody boot print, what appeared to be a boot print anyway, on the floor. It was right next to the Zantop's fireplace, and it's a wood fireplace.
Bates' first concern is to preserve the evidence.
The closest thing that was nearby was some kindling wood, some small kindling. So I basically cordoned off each blood dropping or footprint that I could find in hopes that later they could be analyzed.
The Hanover Police is a small-town department. They have limited resources. They'll need all the help they can get if they're going to solve this terrifying and puzzling crime. Because of the size of the Hanover PD, the Major Crimes Unit of the New Hampshire State Police comes in to investigate the murder.
We're one of the few departments that have a full-time homicide unit.
Sergeant Mark Mudgett is the lead investigator with the Major Crimes Unit of the New Hampshire State Police.
Sergeant Mudgett, we have probably a lot more experience than a lot of the local departments in being able to handle investigations of this magnitude.
All right, guys, here's the...
The investigators analyze the study, the primary crime scene.
As you look at the crime scene, if you're patient enough and you're willing to look, stop, and listen and take in all that information, positioning of the bodies, the physical evidence located inside that room, if you listen, that body will speak to you. It will tell you what happened. It will give you clues as to how it happened. It will tell you potentially who may have committed this particular crime.
Suzanne Zantop's body was lying near the door of the study. Her husband's body was further in the room. An upturned chair was at his feet, and two other chairs were set up near the desk. It looked like a conversation had taken place in the room. Near the two chairs, police make a startling discovery.
Got something under here.
As we started to process the inside of the study area, we immediately came across two black tactical-style knife sheaths. These knife sheaths were approximately 9 to 10 inches in length. Both of them were identical.
Police assume the missing knives were used to kill the Xantops. They could be the murder weapons, and two murder weapons could mean two killers. In the living room, they follow the blood trail leading from the study to the front door. Tom Pfeiffer is the director of the New Hampshire State Police Forensic Laboratory. He is relieved to see that the blood evidence has been carefully preserved.
This is a highly unusual and actually some of the best part of preserving the crime scene that could have occurred. This eliminated people entering the crime scene from actually stepping and obliterating or contaminating the footwear impression evidence.
Sergeant Mudgett notes that the front door is unlocked. There is no sign of forced entry into the house. Right now, all the investigators have are a few answers and a growing list of questions.
Did they invite the perpetrator or perpetrators into this? Or the questions that continue to go through your mind are, is this somebody that's known to the Xantops?
Near the fireplace, Pfeiffer finds the bloody boot print.
I wanted to enhance those impressions for better comparison purposes. I processed those with a blood enhancement reagent referred to as leucocrystal violet, or LCV. Upon application of the LCV, the impression was further enhanced to the point where it was going to be able to be used in identification purposes.
Once a suspect is in custody, the boot print could be important evidence for prosecutors. In 2001, Mike Delaney was the Assistant Attorney General for the Homicide Unit of the New Hampshire Attorney General's Office.
In New Hampshire, anytime a suspicious death is discovered, there's an immediate notification to prosecutors who are immediately dispatched to the scene to help the investigators with the case. In this case, our victims were loved and esteemed professors from an Ivy League college campus, and that made this case very unique. It was clear that the level of violence that had been inflicted on the Xantops was over and above anything that was necessary for the purpose of carrying out a crime, including a potential killing. In that regard, it had the hallmarks of a crime of passion, of somebody that acted out with a level of violence that was personal in nature.
In addition to the unlocked door, the extreme violence of the murders, it appears to be what investigators call overkill, is more evidence that the Xantops might have known their killers. If the killers knew their victims, then police are looking for someone who hated the Xantops enough to brutally stab them to death. Whoever committed this crime is a cold-blooded killer and must be stopped. But police must find them first. To do that, they need a motive, something to explain this heinous crime. In Etna, Vermont, two prominent professors are murdered, stabbed to death in their own home. Investigators suspect whoever killed the Xantops will try to leave town as soon as possible. They check the local airport, the bus station, and finally a local cab company.
How about that right there?
According to the dispatcher, one of the drivers picked up a local college student the night of January 27th. It was late, after midnight. The student was going to Manchester Airport. Investigators quickly established the student flew home due to a family emergency. With no other leads, suspects, they assume the killers either left town by car or are still somewhere in the area. By morning, the double homicide is headline news. The Zantops were prominent citizens. According to the medical examiner's office, wounds on the Zantop's body are consistent with a tactical combat knife. Mark Mudgett is assistant commander of the Major Crime Unit for the New Hampshire State Police.
Based on the injuries that we found on Halth and Susanna at the time of autopsy, they had both sustained numerous stab wounds. Susanna had been stabbed 11 times and Halth had been stabbed 10 times in various portions of their body. Their throats had been cut. Stabbing is a very personal crime. It's not something that you can accomplish at a distance of 12, 13, 14 feet like you can with a firearm. A stabbing is something that's a very personal crime. You have to get up close to the individual to be able to affect the damage that the offender wants to affect on these people.
Once again, the evidence suggests the Zantops knew their killers. The knife sheaths are now investigators' best clue to finding them. Tom Pfeiffer is the director of the New Hampshire State Police Forensic Lab.
There were fingerprints developed on the back of one of the knife sheaths left in the Zantop study. We then searched those fingerprints through the fingerprint identification system in our laboratory.
Investigators searched the NCIS database, comparing fingerprints found on the knife sheaths to a database containing the fingerprints of known offenders. They can't find a match.
The fact that we did not receive a match back from the fingerprint search leads us to several different conclusions. One, the person is not in the database, which means they haven't been arrested. Two, the fingerprints were such a quality that was not able to make a match with the computer. Or three, the person could have been arrested, however, the fingerprints, for some reason or another, did not make it into the database.
Police turned to their next best clue, a bloody boot print found at the scene.
We had to collect all the footwear evidence from everyone that entered the scene. There were about 14 pairs of footwear of personnel that had been into the crime scene. We collected all those pieces of footwear from the neighbors to the EMTs to the medical examiner to our own Attorney General's office.
Good impression of that. Great impression.
The forensics lab is able to eliminate all 14 pairs of footwear. Pfeiffer suspects the boot print belongs to one of the killers.
I scanned a photograph of this particular footwear impression at the crime scene, emailed that image down to the FBI laboratory in their footwear section, asked them to do a search of their database that contains thousands of outsole pattern designs.
The FBI lab tells Pfeiffer that the footwear impression was made by an upscale brand of hiking boots. It's a good clue, but until investigators have a suspect, it's meaningless.
There's an awful lot of information that has to be processed once you take part in processing the crime scene and the physical evidence. That's just one aspect of this investigation, or any investigation. Now you have to start seeking out persons for information.
In this case, that was quite a challenge. Everyone knew Halth and Susanna Zantop. They had extensive faculty connections. They had hundreds of students that were in classes with them.
Investigators head to the college where the Zantops worked to learn all they can about their victims.
So realistically, our investigation just blew up in 360 degrees. You had to just start putting your feelers out. You had to start generating leads. You had to start interviewing a lot of people on campus, off campus, relatives, neighbors.
Notifications with anyone?
Well, maybe about a couple of days ago.
During the course of the interviews that we were doing on campus, we generated a person of interest who was a student of Halth Zantops.
Can you tell me what that was about?
No, because they spoke Spanish.
According to a student, Halth Zantop argued with one of his students just days before he was murdered.
Pretty much gonna wrap it up for today. Yo necesito hablar para mi clave en recounted. Una estrella aquí. Yo necesito para mi graduación.
Police question the student.
It was reported to us that he had a extensive knife collection.
What kind of knives are they?
They're collector's items.
When we conducted the actual interview with the individual, we also noted that he had sustained a recent abrasion to his head. So we were hoping that we were, onto something.
The student voluntarily submits to questioning. He tells police he'd been friendly with Half Zantop ever since he took the professor's earth science class. He explains he was just joking around with Professor Zantop. Investigators look into the student's background, but he has a solid alibi on the day of the murders. He could not have killed the Zantops. Police also investigate the Zantops' relationships with their colleagues.
Popular professors on the campus.
On campus, they learn that Half Zantop had recently been given a position instead of another professor.
Recently, in the last.
We had to travel out to where the gentleman lived in the western part of the United States to interview him because he had come and gone from the Hanover area out about the time that the homicide had occurred or shortly thereafter.
The professor's car is impounded. There appear to be bloodstains in the trunk. Analysis reveals that the stains are not blood. According to the owner of the vehicle, they were made by stew that spilled in the trunk. While investigators follow every lead, 2 detectives work to try and find the murder weapons. They visit retail stores in the area that specialize in knives.
The scabbards that we had, the knife sheaths that we had, were produced for one type of blade, one type of knife. The blade itself is really a paramilitary or a tactical type of tool. Our armed forces use them. A lot of police agencies utilize them. This is not something that is a tool that's going to be used by the average hiker or the average individual.
6 days after the killings, the knife manufacturer supplies New Hampshire authorities with a list of all authorized retailers and distributors in the country, broken down by state. In addition, there are hundreds of dealers nationwide that sell the knives on the internet.
Based on the research we did with the manufacturer, we were able to determine that we were going to have to track down approximately 5,000 blades and knives, scabbards, that were produced and distributed worldwide. We didn't have a considerable amount of manpower to be able to do that.
The investigators need help and call in the FBI. At the time, Brian Fitzell was a special agent assigned to the Bedford, New Hampshire resident agency of the FBI.
Just give me the FBI office.
They knew that it would encompass different states and even international because of the nationality of the Zantops. So they knew that they'd be reaching well outside of the New Hampshire borders and wanted us to be able to help with those kind of leads.
Along with state and local police, the FBI joins the Hanover Task Force.
This was front page news, and consistently the state police, the attorney general, was asking anyone with information, please call. And the volume of leads that were coming in were tremendous. You know, phone calls, people calling in with information.
The FBI deploys Rapid Start, a computer system. It is a database designed to track hundreds or even thousands of leads.
In any type of investigation, you need to keep your peripheral vision open. You don't want to miss anything. If you're too quick to focus in on one area, you start to disregard other telltale signs or other signs that you may or may not be on the right track.
As investigators struggle to make sense of their case, all over the country, media coverage of the case explodes. For law enforcement, the pressure is on to find a pair of brutal killers. In New Hampshire, 2 Ivy League professors have been brutally murdered in their own home. Investigators review the evidence again.
But again, it's sloppy.
They're trying to determine if the Xantops were targeted. It doesn't appear that they were. A knife is too clumsy a murder weapon for an assassination. Also, the killers made amateurish mistakes. If the murder had been planned, why would they leave behind the knife sheaths, a footprint, and even a fingerprint? Ironically, despite the evidence found at the scene, they're beginning to question whether the Xantops had any connection to their killers at all. Supervisory Special Agent Brian Fitzel.
It was looking, as this progressed more and more, that it was not an acquaintance that committed these acts.
Investigators can also rule out robbery. According to the initial investigation, nothing was taken from the house.
It was a murder scene that didn't match a lot of the known or the experience that most of these investigators have worked many homicides. It didn't fit into their normal model. It wasn't apparent that there was any motive other than the killing itself. It was as if these people were killed and the culprits ran right out the door.
Agents contact the FBI's Critical Incident Response Group in Quantico, Virginia. Investigators want to understand how these killers' minds work. They turn to the profilers.
They'll actually see hundreds of homicide cases during a year, and so they actually develop an expertise, and they can see patterns because they see so many cases.
Supervisory Special Agent Jim Fitzgerald is a criminal investigative analyst, a profiler. He finds the case unusual.
We have two low-risk victims who are killed in their own house in broad daylight on a Saturday, nonetheless, when other people ostensibly in the neighborhood are home.
This is the crime scene. It appears that
Fitzgerald notes that the position of the chairs makes it appear as if an impromptu conference was going on prior to the murders.
The only thing that's in the doorway.
It was agreed upon with the investigators in the room and myself that it looks like there may have been at least several minutes in which there was some sort of conversation between Hoff and one or both of the offenders. It seems that the offender or offenders, and we were leaning towards two offenders at this point, were mission-oriented in that when they came into the house, their purpose was to kill Mr. and Mrs. Xantop.
The murder weapon, a pair of combat knives, is particularly troubling.
The use of a weapon in a homicide is very significant to your type of offender. If it's a cheap Saturday night special as opposed to a very expensive pistol with a silencer, that tells you have two different sort of offenders there. And on the other end of the continuum, on even a lower end of the continuum, if someone's using a knife, that tells you a lot about your offender too.
Been able to determine what type of knife it actually was. It's like
The fact that the killers used knives and left behind crucial evidence tells him they are either sloppy or unsophisticated. Investigators suspect that the Xantops either knew their killers or allowed them into the house for some unknown reason. Fitzgerald is starting to get a picture of the killers, but the extreme level of violence troubles him.
When we're seeing a case that it makes no sense for various reasons, from a profiling perspective, we automatically hit the default to youthfulness. We just may have someone here youthful that the motivation is not about money, the motivation is not to get back to somebody or even up a grudge. It's, hey, we're youthful and our filtering system in our brain hasn't kicked in yet, so I know, let's go out and just hurt or kill someone.
He fears he may be looking at some kids who killed just for the thrill of it.
That went bad.
On February 9th, a list of the killer's post-offensive behavior compiled by the FBI profilers is released to the public. Investigators ask the public to recall if they noticed anyone exhibiting odd behavior around the time of the murders, or changing their appearance, missing work, or having unexplained injuries or bruises on the hands or arms. Calls pour into the task force. None of the leads pan out. After 2 weeks of non-stop work, investigators have hit a dead end. Nothing about the Xantop murder makes sense. Seems like a crime without a motive. With each passing day, the community becomes more desperate. 2 murderers are at large, and law enforcement still has no idea why they chose the Xantops and who their next victim might be. In New Hampshire, a task force of state and local police and FBI agents tried to determine why someone murdered 2 Dartmouth professors in their own home.
There was no discernible motive that we could come up with as to why these people would be killed.
Supervisory Special Agent Jim Fitzgerald is an FBI profiler assigned to the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit.
We were told initially that there was nothing missing from the house. We found out about a week or so later that, in fact, something was missing from the house.
Agents learn Half Xantop always carried a wallet, and his wallet has never been recovered.
Prior to us learning that the wallet was missing, it almost appeared like a motiveless crime.
Now that they know one of the victims' wallets is missing, it changes everything.
We said this could be a little bit different now, and this may have been a quote-unquote simple robbery gone very, very bad.
Gentlemen, I just have some new information.
If the motive was indeed robbery, investigators have only a handful of clues found at the scene. 2 unidentified fingerprints, an unidentified boot print, and 2 empty knife sheaths. The task force focuses on the knife sheaths and finding the murder weapons.
There's really a point in an investigation where you provide the behavioral work as much as you can, and then you have to sit back and let the gumshoe work take place.
Check this out.
Working with the manufacturer, investigators work to track down the sale of 5,000 combat knives all over the country.
Okay. This is all the dealers of that blade? It's about 5,000 of them.
In addition to questioning retail dealers in the area, investigators research dealers who sell combat knives over the internet. On February 14th, they contact an internet retailer in Massachusetts. Supervisory Special Agent Brian Fitzel.
2 of the knives had been purchased by an individual in Vermont within, 20 miles of the crime scene.
Bells started going off and flags were raised that we may have a good break here.
The purchase of 2 identical combat knives is an extraordinary lead. Investigators follow up immediately. The 2 knives were purchased by a man named James Parker. He lives across the state line in Chelsea, Vermont. Mark Mudgett is assistant commander of the Major Crime Unit for the New Hampshire State Police.
When we made the initial contact with the occupants of the home, we were somewhat shocked at the fact that it was purchased by a juvenile. Jimmy!
James Parker is only 16 years old.
What's going on? You James Parker? Yes. We want to talk to you about some knives.
James Parker had indicated that he had bought 2 knives at that time. That he'd bought one for himself and one for a friend of his, a gentleman by the name of Robert Tulloch. That they had purchased the knives so they could use them while they were rock climbing.
Oh, well, when we
Detectives ask Parker where the knives are now.
So we took them to a local Army and Navy.
He tells them the knives were big. The boys decided they were too heavy for rock climbing and sold them at an Army-Navy store.
The trooper said that the hair on the back of his neck was standing up because when he started this interview, he had the feeling that this was not a legitimate story.
Investigators asked Parker if he'd be willing to answer a few questions at the police station.
Is it okay if I tag along? It'd be fine.
Parker agrees to be interviewed.
There you go, son.
And then the investigators went to interview his partner. And again, same story, that didn't really measure up.
What happened to the knives? Me and my
17-year-old Robert Tulloch corroborates Parker's story.
We realized that the knives were too heavy for us, so...
The knives were too heavy. The boys sold them for $60 apiece to a stranger at the Army-Navy store in Burlington, Vermont.
60 for both.
Do you have any kind of footwear, shoes, boots, anything like that?
Investigators are immediately suspicious. Tulloch's statement is not just close to Parker's, it's virtually identical. It's as if the 2 boys memorized their statements beforehand. Then the detective notices something chilling.
He noticed that the footwear was the make and model of the hiking boot that we were looking at. So, I mean, he knew very early on this was probably somebody involved in this crime scene.
They want to take you down to headquarters.
He did a very good job of maintaining the interview because this was, you know, no arrest warrants were in hand. He went out there to find out about the knives and then very quickly realized that he was dealing with one of the murderers right there.
Robert Tulloch agrees to accompany detectives to the Chelsea Sheriff's Office to be fingerprinted. Despite investigators' suspicions, without solid evidence to support an arrest warrant, they are unable to detain Tulloch or Parker. Deputy State Attorney General Mike Delaney.
They had no prior history with criminal activity. They cooperated with the police when they arrived. They voluntarily provided information and fingerprints and shoes.
He's free to go.
They place a late-night call to Tom Pfeiffer, the director of the New Hampshire State Police Forensic Laboratory.
I received a telephone call at 12 o'clock midnight requesting my assistance to the laboratory to do a comparison between a pair of boots that were recovered from a suspect in this case to those impressions that were developed at the crime scene.
In order to obtain an arrest warrant, investigators need proof that Robert Tulloch's boots match the bloody boot print found at the crime scene.
The pressure that was surrounding this particular case was enormous. I've never worked in a case in our state that had this much amount of pressure. If anything, it caused us to actually step back and recheck and double and triple check our work before we let anything out of this laboratory. This is your career on the line. If you make one misidentification, you might as well leave the world of forensics behind because you could never do another case.
Dr. Pfeiffer compares an impression taken from Tulloch's boots to an impression taken at the Zantop house.
About 3 o'clock in the morning, a colleague and myself made a match between the impressions left at the crime scene and the boots that were taken from the suspect.
The fingerprints collected from the scene match Parker's.
We knew that we were dealing with our murderers, and the two murderers knew that as well because after the state troopers left, these kids left that night. They got together and fled. So they gave fingerprints and footwear and then went into fugitive mode.
After weeks of searching, agents and police finally identify their suspects, only to lose them. 2 deadly teenage killers are now on the loose. Forensic evidence has implicated 2 teens, James Parker and Robert Tulloch, in a brutal double murder.
Detective Eric Bates with Hanover Police
Armed with
Department.
warrants, police travel to the boys' homes.
To check your house if you don't have a problem.
Both of them live with their parents in the small town of Chelsea, Vermont.
No, I really don't. I have no idea.
When we got into Chelsea that morning, and it was early in the morning, we had learned that they had both fled during the night, telling each other's parents that they were both going to be with the other family.
Detective Eric Bates questions Robert Tulloch's parents. They have no idea where their son is.
It was difficult to deal with the parents of these killers. Knowing the information that we had, you learn that the family members were good people and that, unfortunately, their children had become murderers.
In Tulloch's bedroom, investigators make a crucial discovery. Inside a cardboard box, they find 2 combat knives.
Got him. Oh, good.
In their statements, Parker and Tulloch claimed they sold the knives to a stranger. Investigators have found the murder weapons. Mike Delaney is a deputy attorney general working with the homicide unit.
Once we had the knives in the bedroom, it was pretty clear what we were dealing with, and at that point, I think everyone had solidified the opinions that they, in fact, were involved directly in committing these crimes.
This is where we are. The problem is that Hanover...
The case transformed once Parker and Tulloch had fled. They had shifted gears, basically, from an investigative trying to ferret out who had caused this now to an actual pursuit. The momentum increased, the intensity increased, but it gave us a great deal of satisfaction that we were able to identify who the perpetrators were in this crime.
A bolo, or be on the lookout, is issued for two teenage boys driving a silver 1987 Audi. They are wanted for questioning in connection with the Zantop murders.
You never know what's inside the mind of a person, what they're actually going to do when confronted, but certainly from a law enforcement perspective and for the general public's sake, you have to assume the worst in that regard, and we did. An axiom by which we live in the profiling business is that past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. So by all means, these two were considered armed and dangerous, and all the relevant agencies and states that were contacted were told that, be very careful when confronting these two, because they've killed already.
Parker and Tulloch's pictures appear in newspapers and on television throughout the country.
The FBI issued the UFAP, the unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, to help us in our fugitive investigation. What that allows is the FBI can turn up a lot of resources on a UFAP.
In Massachusetts, a state trooper finds an abandoned car at a truck stop. It is a silver 1987 Audi. The trooper calls in the license plates. Within minutes, he knows that the car belongs to James Parker. Agents converge on the truck stop. An employee remembers seeing two clean-cut teenage boys asking truckers for a ride to California.
Definitely did. They were both looking for rides that day to California.
According to the truck stop employee, one of the boys had dark hair. He wore it spiked. The other boy was blonde. They called themselves Sam and Tyler.
Yeah, that's cool. We were able to effectively narrow the time of our trail to their original leaving of the vehicle in Sturbridge, Massachusetts rest area.
In Sturbridge, the two boys hitched a ride with a husband and wife trucking team. They dropped the boys off at another rest stop.
To determine what type of truck they left in from there, based on those aggressive application of FBI resources, immediately sending people to these rest areas.
The FBI moves fast. They notify trucking companies and dispatchers that the two teenage boys are wanted. They are believed to be armed and dangerous. Authorities learn the two teenage boys might have been spotted at a truck stop in Columbia, New Jersey. According to witnesses, they hitched a ride with another trucker.
We were narrowing the chase because as our information was getting better, it was clear to us where we thought they were heading.
Agents notify police all over the region that the fugitives seem to be heading west. February 19th, 4 a.m. 3 weeks after the double homicide, the sheriff in Newcastle, Indiana, listens to the chatter on his CB radio. He hears a trucker ask if somebody can give a ride to two boys from New Jersey. They want to go to California. He does not reveal he is a police officer and quickly tells the trucker he'd be happy to give the boys a ride. He instructs the trucker to drop them off at a nearby truck stop. The officer speeds to intercept them. According to the bolo, the suspects are armed and dangerous. Along the way, he calls for backup. He may have found the killers. In Indiana, A sheriff attempts to trap two teenage fugitives at a truck stop. 16-year-old James Parker and 17-year-old Robert Tulloch are both wanted for the brutal slaying of two prominent professors. At the truck stop, the officer asks the two boys for their names.
What's your name?
Tyler J. Jones.
Tyler J. Jones. What's the J stand for?
Jeffrey.
Tyler Jason Jones?
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey. Okay. Where are you from?
We're from Encino, California.
Can you spell that?
E-N-S.
How about you? What's your social security number? You don't remember it right now? Well, hold on a second. Copy that. Look at the description. That's you? You heard that? We've got the suspects here. We identified themselves. Guys, hold the mirror in the car.
He takes Parker and Tulloch into custody.
Cooperation and future testimony we're looking at.
James Parker was brought back to the state of New Hampshire along with Robert Tulloch. Adult certification hearing was commenced against James Parker, and he was ultimately deemed to stand trial as an adult for the murders of Hal and Susanna Zantop.
Just to steal some money.
Once he was certified as an adult,
Steal cards and credit card information.
James Parker's attorneys approached the state of New Hampshire in wanting him to offer testimony against Robert Tulloch.
James Parker ended up cooperating with law enforcement and was interviewed extensively by the New Hampshire State Police and the Attorney General's office.
James Parker pleads guilty to a reduced charge, accomplice to second-degree murder. In exchange, he agrees to testify against his best friend. He tells police the chilling tale of what happened on the day the Zantops were murdered.
Try something.
What materialized is the fact that these two guys were bored with their life in Vermont, that they envisioned going to Australia or some far-off place. They originally decided that they were going to rob somebody and take their ATM card or something to that effect, take $10,000 and fly to Australia.
Hey, I've got a question. Our car broke
They
down.
came up with the idea of knocking on somebody's door and saying that they had car trouble, can we come in to use your phone? And when
I don't think so.
they tried this in Vermont, the person felt very strongly that these two were up to no good and slammed the door in their face and said, get off my property. He was very close to being a victim of that. Well, when their pretext for broken car didn't meet with good results, they changed it to students conducting a survey for their school.
Hey, we were doing a school.
So they showed up at the Zantop's house totally at random, and unfortunately, the fact that Hoff and Susanna were college professors led them to be very open and trusting of students and invite them into their home.
Glad to help you. Come on in.
And then the office environment where Hoff was murdered, it was clear that he was sitting at his desk conversing with these two students who were writing their pretend notes and interviewing him, and and then the signal was given to murder him in cold blood right in his office.
Suzanne and Half Zantop were teachers.
Is your wife the only person in this house?
They believed in helping students.
Okay. Well, how long have you been married and what do you do?
Tragically, their dedication led to their deaths.
You know what?
Deaths at the hands of two teenagers who agents suspect may have killed simply for the thrill of it.
Their goal was to commit a violent act, and the Zantops just happened to be in the wrong place, in the wrong time, in their own home. And how unfortunate is that?
When these perpetrators were interviewed after the fact, one of them made the admission that they had realized that they had left the sheaths and had given thought about coming back to the house to retrieve them. And I believe that they said when they went past the house, with that in mind, the police presence was already there.
Investigators are searching for some way to explain why Tulloch and Parker murdered the Zantops so brutally.
What you guys doing?
FBI profiler James Fitzgerald sees this type of random violence as part of a terrifying trend.
We live in a different society today. Even in our youthful culture, they're constantly exposed to violence. And I believe Parker and Tulloch fit right into that category. The motivation's not to get back to somebody or even up a grudge. So I know, let's go out and just hurt or kill someone. And we're seeing more and more of that, unfortunately.
When you left there that night, where did you guys go?
We spent considerable amount of time with him, several days, as he went through how he and Robert Tulloch had concocted and eventually perpetrated this crime. He showed no signs of emotion, no signs of remorse for what he had done.
I stabbed the Zantops.
They were from more or less a middle-class environment, low crime area. Did not have some of the pitfalls that maybe others may be forced to experience in lesser environments. But nonetheless, there was a dysfunctionality about them. And when their chemistry was mixed, a violent outcome was apparently inevitable.
Investigators will never know what it was about the two boys and their chemistry that triggered such rage. In April 2002, James Parker is convicted of second-degree murder. He is sentenced to 25 years in prison. Robert Tulloch is convicted of first-degree murder. He is sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole.